Captain Jake Morrison stood at the massive window of the ESV Liberty and watched the last transport ships leave Earth's orbit. The blue marble that had been humanity's home for millions of years grew smaller with each passing hour. His hands gripped the metal rail as he tried to process what was happening. 12 billion humans were being forced to abandon everything they had ever known. The Galactic Federation had made their decision 3 months ago. The council chambers on Nexus Prime had been filled with representatives from dozens of alien species. The Zephyrians with their crystalline bodies had spoken first. They claimed humans were too violent and unpredictable. The peaceful Altarians had agreed, their soft blue skin glowing with distress as they talked about human aggression. Even the ancient Vorthak, who had been exploring space when humans were still learning to make fire, had voted for the exile. Admiral Lisa Kane walked onto the bridge of Luna Station. Her gray hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her face showed the stress of the past weeks. She had been coordinating the largest evacuation in galactic history. Thousands of ships carried families, scientists, workers, and soldiers away from the solar system. The Federation had given them 6 months to leave. They had used every day of it. The alien species had their reasons. Humans had been part of the Federation for only 50 years, but in that time they had caused problems. There was the incident on Kelvara where human colonists had fought back against raiders instead of waiting for Federation peacekeepers. The trade dispute on Centauri Station where human negotiators had been too aggressive. The exploration missions, where human crews had pushed into dangerous space against Federation warnings. Commander Roy Phillips sat in the communication center typing the final message to Federation Command. His fingers moved slowly across the holographic keyboard. The message was simple but carried weight. Humanity would leave as ordered, but they would remember this day. The Federation had called humans chaotic and dangerous. Perhaps they were right. But they would learn what that really meant. Dr. Elena Vasquez worked frantically in her laboratory on Mars. The Red Planet had been humanity's first major colony outside Earth. Now she was packing decades of research into encrypted data cores. Her team had been working on quantum tunneling technology and dimensional physics. The Federation scientists had called their work primitive, but Elena knew they were wrong. Humans approach science differently than other species. They took risks and tried impossible things. The evacuation ships were marvels of human engineering. Each vessel carried 50,000 people and everything needed to start new colonies. Food production systems, manufacturing equipment, libraries of human knowledge, and genetic samples from Earth's biosphere filled the cargo holds. The ships had been built in secret over the past decades as humanity prepared for this possibility. They had seen the signs in Federation politics. Captain Amy Sullivan piloted one of the scout ships ahead of the main convoy. Her sensors showed empty space stretching beyond the galactic rim. Out there in the darkness between galaxies, humanity would have to find a new home. The Federation controlled all the habitable worlds in the Milky Way. Humans would have to survive in the void, between stars where no other species dared to go. The Nexari delegation watched the human ships disappear from their monitoring stations. Their logical minds calculated that this was the best outcome for galactic peace. Humans had disrupted too many established trade routes and diplomatic agreements. The galaxy would return to its proper order without their interference. The mathematics of their projection models showed clear improvement in stability ratings. General Marcus Cole stood in the command center of the military transport. New hope? His weathered face reflected years of service to humanity. The Federation had feared human military capability, but they had never understood it. Humans didn't fight just to win battles. They fought to protect what they loved. Now they were being forced to find new things to protect in the cold darkness of space. The Chronari trade vessels reported unusual activity in human space. Massive energy signatures suggested the humans were destroying their own infrastructure rather than leaving it for the Federation. Mining stations, research facilities, and orbital platforms were being systematically dismantled or vaporized. The aliens had expected to claim valuable human technology and resources. Instead, they found empty space and radiation. Professor Alex Thompson reviewed the archaeological data from his team's recent discoveries. They had found ruins on several worlds that predated known galactic civilization. The Federation had forbidden further investigation, claiming such research was too dangerous, but the data was safely stored in the convoy's computers now. In exile, humans could pursue knowledge without alien restrictions. The last human ship passed beyond the Federation's territorial markers. Captain Jake Morrison activated the long-range communication array and sent a final transmission to Earth. The message would reach the abandoned planet in 8 hours. It contained coordinates for other humans to follow and a promise that humanity would survive. The blue world that had given birth to their species would not forget its children behind them. The alien species celebrated. The Vorthic elders spoke of a new age of peace. The Altarians sang songs of harmony restored. The Zephyrians calculated improved efficiency in galactic governance. None of them considered what they had lost by forcing humanity into exile. They would learn soon enough that some prices are too high to pay, and some enemies are too dangerous to create. The human convoy accelerated toward the edge of known space, carrying with them the accumulated knowledge and determination of an entire species that refused to be broken. 5 years had passed since humanity left the galaxy behind. General Marcus Cole walked through the corridors of New Terra Station, built into the rocky surface of a rogue planet drifting in the intergalactic void. The planet had no sun, but human technology had transformed it into a thriving world. Fusion reactors provided endless energy, while atmospheric processors created breathable air in the underground cities. The cold darkness of space between galaxies had become humanity's greatest teacher. Without the Federation's safety regulations and restrictions, human scientists had been free to experiment with dangerous technologies. Dr. Helen Carter's research team had finally cracked the secrets of zero-point energy extraction. They could now draw power directly from the quantum vacuum itself. The discovery had revolutionized human civilization in just 5 years. Engineer Sam Rodriguez supervised the construction of the newest class of human vessels in the orbital shipyards above New Terra. These ships looked nothing like the bulky transports that had carried humanity into exile. The new designs were sleek and strange, incorporating technologies that bent the laws of physics. They could harvest matter from empty space and convert it into anything needed. Food, air, fuel, even complex machinery could be created from the quantum foam. Captain Amy Sullivan's deep space reconnaissance ships had been exploring the void for years. Her latest mission had taken her crew further from home than any human had ever traveled. The emptiness between galaxies was not as empty as it appeared. Ancient ruins dotted the cosmic wilderness, remnants of civilizations that had existed billions of years ago. These ruins held technologies that made Federation science look primitive. Professor Alex Thompson had spent 3 years studying the alien ruins. The builders had been called the precursors by his research team. They had transcended physical existence eons ago, leaving behind only their incredible machines. The precursor technology operated on principles that human science was only beginning to understand. They had learned to manipulate space and time itself, folding reality to their will. The breakthrough came when Dr. Patricia Kim discovered how to interface human neural patterns with precursor control systems. The ancient machines responded to human thought patterns in ways they never had with other species. Something about human consciousness allowed them to operate precursor technology naturally. The machines that have been silent for millions of years suddenly came alive under human control. Meanwhile, back in Federation space, the carefully maintained peace was cracking. The Chronari and Yilian species had gone to war over mining rights in the Outer Rim. Without human traders and diplomats to mediate between different cultures, old grudges had erupted into open conflict. The Federation Council tried to restore order, but their peaceful methods had no effect on species that had decided to fight. Commander Rachel Ward monitored Federation communications from a hidden listening post on the edge of galactic space. The reports painted a picture of growing chaos. Trade routes that had operated smoothly for centuries were breaking down. The human merchants who had connected distant worlds were gone, and no other species could fill their role. Humans had possessed a unique ability to understand and work with different alien cultures. The Altarians were suffering the most from humanity's absence. Their peaceful nature had made them depend on human protection from more aggressive species. Pirates and raiders now attacked Altarian colonies with impunity. The Federation peacekeepers were spread too thin and arrived too late. Entire Altarian worlds had been abandoned as their population fled to safer regions. President Lavra Mason convened the Human Colonial Council in the Great Assembly Hall beneath New Terra's surface. Representatives from dozens of human colonies scattered across the void attended via quantum communication links. The topic was whether humanity should remain hidden or reveal their survival to the galaxy. Some argued for continued isolation while others wanted to re-establish contact with their former allies. The decision was complicated by humanity's transformation. The humans who had left the galaxy 5 years ago no longer existed. The new humans were something different, enhanced by precursor technology and adapted to life in the cosmic void. They could survive in hard vacuum for hours, their bodies modified by nanomachines that repaired damage instantly. Their minds had been expanded to process information at superhuman speeds. General Beth Collins commanded the human military forces that now patrolled the intergalactic frontier. Her ships were invisible to most sensors, phasing in and out of normal spacetime. Human weapons could destroy entire fleets without leaving trace evidence. The technology was so advanced that Federation scientists would not even recognize it as artificial. Humanity had become something that their former captors could not comprehend. The Vorthak, oldest of the Federation species, had begun to notice strange energy signatures at the edge of their territory. Their ancient wisdom told them that something had changed in the cosmic balance. The careful order they had maintained for millions of years was shifting. Some Vorthak elders whispered that they had made a terrible mistake in forcing humanity into exile. Engineer Carol Turner worked in the experimental laboratories where humans tested their most dangerous discoveries. The precursor ruins had revealed technologies that could reshape reality itself. Humans were learning to create pocket dimensions, manipulate gravity waves, and even influence the flow of time. Each breakthrough brought new possibilities and new responsibilities that would have terrified the Federation. As the 5th year of exile ended, humanity stood at a crossroads. They had survived in the void and grown stronger than anyone could have imagined. The question now was what to do with their newfound power. Some humans wanted revenge against the species that had cast them out. Others sought to remain hidden and continue their evolution in peace. But all of them knew that their exile had changed them into something the galaxy had never seen before. The Federation had pushed humanity away to preserve their version of order and peace. They had succeeded in removing the chaotic human element from galactic civilization. What they had not considered was what humans might become when freed from all restraints and given unlimited freedom to grow. The cost of that mistake was about to become clear. The first sign of the coming disaster appeared on the edge of Federation space near the galactic core. Long-range sensors detected massive energy signatures moving through the cosmic dust clouds. The signals were unlike anything in the Federation database. Admiral Kevin Brooks of the Federation Defense Force ordered investigation ships to the area, but they never returned. Only automated distress beacons remained, broadcasting fragmentary data about mechanical shapes the size of moons. Dr. Sandra Clark studied the sensor readings from her laboratory on Nexus Prime. The energy patterns showed technology that operated beyond known physics. Whatever was creating these signatures could manipulate matter and energy on a scale that dwarfed Federation capabilities. The mathematical models suggested these entities could consume entire star systems and convert them into raw energy. Her report to the Federation Council was classified immediately. The Devourer fleet emerged from the galactic core like a plague of metal locusts. Their ships were not built but grown. Self-replicating machines that followed programming older than most known civilizations. They had one purpose burned into their quantum cores: locate organic life, and convert it to usable energy. The machines had slept in the galactic center for millions of years, waiting for conditions that would trigger their awakening. Captain Billy Norton commanded the Federation battleship Harmony's Light when the first major encounter occurred. His fleet of 30 vessels faced 3 Devourer ships near the Altarian homeworld. The battle lasted 6 minutes. The Devourer vessels absorbed energy weapons, converted projectile attacks into raw materials, and responded with beams that disintegrated matter at the molecular level. 29 Federation ships were destroyed. Norton's vessel survived only because he ordered immediate retreat. The Altarian homeworld fell within hours of the first attack. The peaceful blue-skinned species had no weapons capable of harming the Devourers. Their cities were consumed by mechanical swarms that broke down everything organic into component atoms. 5 billion Altarians died before evacuation ships could respond. The survivors fled to refugee camps on distant worlds, their entire civilization reduced to scattered populations. Commander Rachel Ward watched the destruction from her monitoring station in the void. The signals from Federation space painted a picture of complete chaos. The Nexari had deployed their most logical battle strategies against the Devourers, but logic meant nothing to machines that rewrote the rules of engagement. The Zephyrians tried to negotiate with the mechanical swarms, offering knowledge and resources in exchange for peace. The Devourers converted the negotiators into energy without pause. The ancient Vorthek called emergency sessions of their ruling councils. Their species had survived for millions of years by adapting to cosmic changes, but the Devourers represented something beyond adaptation. The mechanical plague operated on principles that even Vorthek wisdom could not understand. Their greatest scholars worked desperately to find solutions while their worlds burned under mechanical assault. General Marcus Cole received the first desperate transmission from Federation space 3 weeks after the attacks began. The message came through secret channels that humanity had maintained despite their exile. Ambassador Katie Reynolds, once expelled from Federation chambers for her aggressive negotiation tactics, now begged for human assistance. The same species that had called humans too dangerous for civilized space were pleading for help from the warriors they had cast out. President Laura Mason convened an emergency session of the Human Colonial Council. The debate was fierce and emotional. Many humans wanted nothing to do with the Federation's crisis. The aliens had forced humanity into exile and celebrated their departure. Why should humans risk their lives to save ungrateful species that had rejected them? Others argued that innocent beings were dying and humanity had the power to help. Dr. Helen Carter presented her analysis of the Devourer technology to the Council. The machines used principles that were familiar to humans who had studied precursor ruins. The Devourers appeared to be an ancient immune system, designed to prevent organic life from becoming too stagnant. When civilizations stopped growing and changing, the mechanical plague awakened to clear the galaxy for new development. The Federation's rigid peace had triggered the very mechanism meant to prevent galactic stagnation. Engineer Sam Rodriguez had been working on countermeasures since the first reports arrived. Human technology, enhanced by precursor knowledge, offered possibilities that Federation science could not imagine. The quantum manipulation systems that humans had developed could potentially disrupt Devourer operations. But deploying such weapons would reveal humanity's survival and their technological advancement to the galaxy. Admiral Chris Powell argued strongly for intervention. The military commander had studied the tactical reports from Federation space. The Devourers were not just another enemy to be defeated. If they succeeded in consuming all organic life in the galaxy, they would eventually spread to other galaxies. Humanity's refuge in the intergalactic void would not protect them forever. The threat had to be stopped before it grew beyond control. The turning point came when the Devourer fleet reached the core Federation worlds. Nexus Prime, the political center of galactic civilization, fell in a single day. The crystalline Zephyrian homeworld lasted 2 days before its energy-based life forms were absorbed into the mechanical swarms. Billions of beings died while the Federation's combined fleets proved useless against an enemy that could not be reasoned with or defeated by conventional means. Captain Amy Sullivan volunteered to lead the first reconnaissance mission back into Federation space. Her ship, enhanced with precursor stealth technology, could observe Devour operations without being detected. The images she transmitted back to human space showed the true scope of the disaster. Entire star systems had gone dark, their matter converted into mechanical components. The galaxy that had exiled humanity was dying. Professor Alex Thompson made the crucial discovery while studying precursor records. The ancient civilization had faced the Devourers before and survived. The key was not to fight the machines directly, but to prove that organic life was still evolving and growing. The Devourers would retreat if they encountered evidence of genuine biological and cultural development. But the proof had to be overwhelming and undeniable. The Federation's final, desperate message reached human space as the Devourer fleet approached the last major worlds. The transmission came from the few surviving leaders of the alien species that had once ruled the galaxy. They offered everything: complete political control, access to all Federation resources, and formal apologies for humanity's exile. All they asked in return was survival. The decision fell to humanity alone. They possessed the only technology capable of stopping the mechanical plague, but using it would forever change their relationship with the galaxy. The humans who returned to Federation space would not be the same species that had been forced into exile. They had evolved beyond their former limitations and gained power that the original Federation could never have imagined. The cost of intervention would be measured not just in human lives but in the fundamental nature of galactic civilization itself. Ambassador Katie Reynolds stood before the assembled human leadership in the council chambers beneath New Terra. Her once proud diplomatic uniform was torn and stained from her escape through Devourer-occupied space. The woman who had been expelled from Federation chambers for her aggressive tactics now carried the desperate pleas of dying civilizations. Her voice shook as she described entire worlds consumed by mechanical swarms that showed no mercy to organic life. The debate that followed would determine the fate of the galaxy. General Beth Collins slammed her fist on the metal table and declared that humanity owed nothing to the species that had cast them out. The Altarians had voted for exile, the Nexari had calculated human removal as beneficial, and the Vorthak had used their ancient authority to enforce the decision. Why should humans die to save ungrateful aliens who had celebrated their departure? President Lavra Mason listened to both sides with the weight of billions of lives on her shoulders. The intelligence reports from Federation space painted a picture of complete devastation. Entire star systems had gone silent as the Devourer fleet consumed everything in its path. The mechanical plague showed no signs of slowing or stopping. If it succeeded in sterilizing the galaxy, humanity's refuge in the void would only delay their own destruction. Dr. Patricia Kim presented her research on Devourer behavior patterns. The machines operated according to ancient programming that treated stagnant civilizations as infections to be cleansed. The Federation's rigid peace had triggered this immune response, but the Devourers could be stopped if they encountered evidence of genuine evolutionary progress. Humanity's transformation during exile represented exactly the kind of development that would satisfy the machine's programming. Captain Steve Banner prepared the first human fleet to enter Federation space in 5 years. The ships that assembled around New Terra bore no resemblance to the vessels that had carried humanity into exile. These new craft existed partially outside normal spacetime, their hulls constructed from materials that phase-shifted between dimensions. The technology came from precursor ruins, but humans had refined it beyond what the ancient builders had achieved. The journey back to the galaxy took 3 days, using human faster-than-light drives that folded space around the ships. Captain Amy Sullivan's scouts reported massive Devourer concentrations throughout the Outer Rim territories. The mechanical swarms had consumed dozens of worlds and were advancing toward the galactic core in a coordinated assault. Federation resistance had collapsed completely. With survivors fleeing in all directions, Admiral Chris Powell commanded the human battle group from his flagship Defiance. The vessel's weapon systems incorporated technologies that the Federation had never imagined. Controlled black holes served as projectiles. Stellar matter was converted into directed energy beams, and space itself could be folded to deliver attacks from impossible angles. The crew had trained for months to operate systems that required superhuman reflexes and enhanced neural processing. The first engagement occurred in the Kepler system, where devourer forces were consuming a gas giant. 3 human ships faced a mechanical swarm containing thousands of individual units. The battle lasted 8 minutes and ended with complete human victory. The devourers found their adaptive systems useless against weapons that operated outside known physics. Their conversion beams could not affect matter that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Colonel Nina Pierce led the first human ground forces to land on an occupied world. Her soldiers wore armor that phased in and out of normal reality, making them immune to devourer energy weapons. The mechanical forces that had overwhelmed Federation armies found themselves facing enemies they could not detect or damage. Human weapons destroyed devourer units by trapping them in temporal loops or banishing them to pocket dimensions. News of human intervention spread through the surviving Federation forces like wildfire. The species that had been exiled as too dangerous had returned as liberators wielding impossible technologies. Captain Jake Morrison's fleet arrived at the besieged world of Sanctuary, just as the last Altarian defenders prepared for evacuation. The human ships appeared from nowhere and eliminated an entire devourer armada in minutes. The tide of the war shifted completely within weeks of human arrival. Pilot Jake Foster's fighter squadron developed tactics that turned devourer advantages against them. The mechanical swarms depended on instant communication and coordination, but human quantum scramblers could isolate individual units and destroy them piecemeal. Devourer fleets that had seemed unstoppable began retreating from human-controlled space. Dr. Helen Carter established field laboratories on liberated worlds to study captured devourer technology. The machines were more sophisticated than anyone had realized, incorporating self-repair systems and adaptive learning protocols. But they had one critical weakness: their programming could not comprehend entities that existed partially outside normal space-time. Human consciousness, enhanced by precursor technology, represented something completely outside their parameters. The surviving Federation leaders gathered on the fortress world of Haven to witness humanity's military capabilities. Ambassador Reynolds transmitted their formal surrender and plea for human leadership. The species that had once ruled the galaxy now begged their former exiles to take command. The irony was not lost on any human present, but there was no time for celebration while the devourer threat remained. Engineer Carol Turner supervised the construction of orbital defense platforms around critical worlds. The structures used human space-folding technology to create barriers that existed in multiple dimensions. Devourer attacks would be redirected into empty space or trapped in recursive loops. The defenses were so advanced that Federation scientists could not even detect them without special sensors. General Marcus Cole coordinated the final assault on the Devourer command vessels near the galactic core. Intelligence suggested that destroying the central coordination nodes would cause the entire mechanical fleet to shut down. The mission required penetrating to the most heavily defended region of space and engaging enemies that had consumed the matter of entire star systems. The battle at the galactic core lasted for days as human forces fought through waves of mechanical defenders. Captain Steve Banner's fleet used controlled stellar collapse to clear paths through devourer formations. The enemy's superior numbers meant nothing against weapons that could manipulate the fundamental forces of reality. When the last command vessel was destroyed, the surviving devourer unit simply stopped functioning and drifted through space as dead metal. The war was over, but the galaxy that emerged from the conflict was forever changed. Humanity had saved the Federation species from extinction, but the price was the old order's complete collapse. The humans who had been exiled as too dangerous now possessed technology and capabilities that made them the undisputed masters of known space. The species that had once celebrated human departure now faced a future where their survival depended entirely on human mercy and protection. The aftermath of the Devourer War left the galaxy in ruins, but also offered opportunities for rebirth. Dr. Patricia Kim's research team had made a startling discovery in the wreckage of the mechanical command ships. The Devourers were not invaders, or weapons of destruction as everyone had believed. They were an immune system, created by the precursors millions of years ago to prevent galactic civilization from stagnating into permanent decline. The ancient programming was elegant in its simplicity. When organic life became too rigid and stopped evolving, the Devourers would awaken to clear away the stagnant elements and make room for new growth. The Federation's obsession with maintaining perfect peace and order had triggered exactly the response the system was designed to produce. The mechanical plague had been trying to save the galaxy by destroying the civilization that was choking it. President Lavra Mason addressed the surviving leaders of the Federation's species from the rebuilt council chambers on Nexus Prime. The great hall that had once voted for humanity's exile now served as the meeting place for a new kind of galactic government. The humans who sat at the high table were not the same species that had been forced into the void 5 years earlier. They had evolved beyond their former limitations and gained wisdom to match their power. The terms humanity offered were simple but revolutionary. The old Federation system of rigid hierarchy and enforced peace was dead. In its place would rise a new alliance based on cooperation rather than control. Each species would govern itself according to its own nature, but all would work together when facing common threats. The galaxy needed diversity of thought and approach, not uniformity imposed from above. Director Gary Adams oversaw the establishment of the new galactic infrastructure. Human technology created communication networks that connected distant worlds instantly. Trade routes that had been destroyed during the war were rebuilt using space-folding techniques that made faster-than-light travel as simple as stepping through a doorway. The economic benefits spread quickly as species that had been cut off from each other were suddenly able to trade and communicate freely. The Altarians were among the first to embrace the new system. Their peaceful nature had made them victims during the war, but human protection allowed them to flourish again. Ambassador Katie Reynolds worked with Altarian leaders to establish cultural exchange programs that brought their healing arts to other worlds. The blue-skinned people who had once voted for human exile now served as bridges between species that had trouble understanding each other. Chief Engineer Carol Turner designed the new space stations that served as meeting points for the Galactic Alliance. The structures existed partially outside normal spacetime, accessible to any species but controlled by none. Human technology ensured that no single group could dominate the facilities, while advanced translation systems allowed perfect communication between beings that had evolved on different worlds under alien stars. The Nexari struggled more with the changes than other species. Their logical minds had trouble accepting that chaos and unpredictability could be beneficial. Professor Alex Thompson worked with their scientists to demonstrate how human intuition complemented Nexari logic. The mathematical proofs were elegant. Systems that included random elements were more robust and adaptable than those that eliminated all uncertainty. Captain Jake Morrison commanded the exploration fleets that pushed into previously unknown regions of the galaxy. Human space-folding technology made it possible to survey vast areas quickly and safely. The discoveries were remarkable, hundreds of worlds that could support life, ancient ruins containing technologies that even humans had not mastered, and evidence of other civilizations that had faced and overcome their own devourer events. The Vorthek elders provided historical context that helped explain the patterns. Their species had witnessed previous cycles of galactic renewal, though none in their recorded memory had involved mechanical intervention. The Ancient Ones spoke of times when entire civilizations had vanished overnight, leaving only ruins and legends. Now they understood that these disappearances had been part of the same process that had nearly destroyed the Federation. Dr. Helen Carter established research centers where humans and aliens worked together on projects that neither could complete alone. The combination of human creativity with alien precision produced breakthrough discoveries almost monthly. New medical treatments, advanced materials, and energy sources that seemed impossible became routine achievements. The galaxy was advancing faster than it had in thousands of years. The transformation was not without challenges. Some Federation species resented their dependence on human technology and protection. Radical groups formed among the Chronari and Yilians, calling for resistance to human influence. These movements were quickly suppressed not by human force but by their own people, who had experienced the benefits of the new cooperation and refused to return to the old ways of conflict and isolation. General Beth Collins commanded the peacekeeping forces that maintained order without oppression. Human military technology was so advanced that actual fighting was rarely necessary. The threat of intervention was usually enough to stop conflicts before they could escalate. When force was required, it was applied with surgical precision that left no doubt about human capabilities while minimizing casualties. Captain Amy Sullivan's deep space monitoring stations detected signs of other threats emerging from the cosmic depths. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers that the Federation had never encountered. Ancient automated systems left by vanished civilizations, energy beings that fed on stellar matter, and dimensional rifts that led to hostile universes all posed potential problems. But humanity's enhanced technology and the alliance's combined resources were equal to these challenges. Engineer Sam Rodriguez worked with alien specialists to develop new forms of space travel that could reach other galaxies. The precursor ruins contained hints about civilizations that had spread across multiple star systems, and human scientists were determined to follow their example. The technology was still theoretical, but progress was rapid with so many brilliant minds working on the same problems. The greatest success of the new system was cultural rather than technological. Species that had coexisted in the Federation without truly understanding each other began to appreciate their differences. Human traders served as cultural ambassadors, their natural adaptability allowing them to work comfortably with any alien mindset. The galaxy became more connected and vibrant than it had ever been under the old regime. As the 10th anniversary of the Devourer War approached, the transformation was complete. The galaxy that had exiled humanity for being too chaotic and unpredictable now thrived under a system that celebrated diversity and change. The species that had once feared human influence now depended on it. For their continued prosperity and growth, the cost of pushing humanity away had been near extinction for galactic civilization. The price of bringing them back had been the pride and power of the old Federation leadership. But the reward was a galaxy more alive, more creative, and more resilient than anyone had dared to imagine. The humans who had been cast out as dangerous had returned as the saviors and architects of a new golden age among the stars.